Dwayne Johnson sat quietly in the silent wonder of a thunderstorm. The dark gray air surrounded him, the cold breath of the wind clung to his skin, and the raindrops gradually soaked his hair. He was a man who had gone through much hardship in his life, who had overcome every trial with pride, and who had shone on the Hollywood stage for many years. But the challenge before him now was not a period of filming, nor a cinematic battle challenging the heights. This time, there was a fear that shook real, tender souls. He stood far from his friends, on the shore of a mysterious lake. This lake was no ordinary pool of water. The people called it Dark Lake. According to legends told by the locals for centuries, the lake held the bitter memories of lost souls and people murdered decades ago by cruel neighbors. As a child, Dwayne would shrug his shoulders and laugh in disbelief when he heard these stories from his family and elders. But today, in the embrace of the hour of darkness, he could no longer feel safe in the childish thoughts of the past. In the depths of the night, those childhood legends shook his emotions as if they had become visible bodies. At first, everything was quiet. The surface of the lake shimmered with a delicate shimmer in the weak moonlight, and a gentle wind gently shook the branches of the trees. Dwayne carefully took a few steps closer to the lake. The ground was damp under his feet, and its slipperiness seemed to make one think. Suddenly, he came across an unusual sight that caught his attention. A silhouette reflected on the surface of the lake passed before his eyes. It looked like a human figure, only motionless. Dwayne cautiously took a step forward, but when he tried to take a second, the silhouette disappeared like the moon hiding behind a cloud. "Maybe my imagination is playing tricks on me," he said to himself in doubt. But the strange feeling that arose inside him would not leave him alone. This creepy feeling made him feel as if from somewhere, a pair of attentive eyes were watching his every step. After a moment of silence, a small movement occurred in the middle of the lake. The water suddenly began to boil. Large bubbles burst on the surface and strange gurgling sounds could be heard. Dwayne instinctively wanted to retreat, but his feet seemed to be nailed to the ground. The intense fear that spread through his body prevented him from moving. A hand slowly began to emerge from the calm surface of the lake, its white and pale skin visible in the cool moonlight. The hand slowly opened its fist and seemed to silently invite Dwayne towards it. He looked around. The wind had grown stronger, as if the lake itself was screaming at him with its power. He wanted to retreat, but his feet were as if they were nailed to the ground. Suddenly, a dark silhouette emerged from the water and stood in front of him. This being looked like a human being, but there was no expression on its face, only an endless and black void. Dwayne tried to take a cautious step, but the lake seemed to be pulling him towards it with an invisible force. His movements became more and more difficult, as if the water was trying to enslave not only his body, but also his soul. At that moment, he realized that he could not escape from here by force alone. He had to find a clever way. Suddenly, he saw an old, unused boat on the edge of the lake. Although it was in a rotten state, it was possible to start it. Dwayne ran toward the lake, his feet slipping and getting stuck in the mud. He reached the boat and, with difficulty overcoming his weight, launched it into the water and began to move. But the boat did not want to move. The water seemed to hold the boat in place of its own accord. Meanwhile, the dark silhouette advanced, and Dwayne suddenly felt a dead hand grip his leg tightly. Panic gripped him, but a sudden thought occurred to him. If he gave in to his fear, he would be completely destroyed. But if he overcame his fear, there would be a chance of survival. Dwayne took a deep breath and closed his eyes. The cold hand sent a chill down his spine, but he mustered his last strength and continued to push the boat. The water began to bubble in circles, and in the center of the lake, a portal appeared, as if opening to another world. This was his only chance for salvation. But to pass through this portal, he had to fulfill one condition. He had to avoid facing the silhouette and keep his fear under complete control. He slowly opened his eyes and looked around. As his gaze drifted into the distance, he sensed a silhouette gliding quietly across the deep water. He pushed the boat forward with every fiber of his being, fighting against every wave that came at him. Every time the silhouette got closer, Dwayne instinctively wanted to back away a little, but the strength within him forced him to move forward again. He relied not only on his physical strength, but also on his inner will. Finally, the boat passed through a strange portal that had opened in the middle of the lake. Here, on the other side of this mysterious door, Dwayne noticed a strange light, a warm golden glow. It seemed to be life itself, an invitation to forget his past fears. As he passed through the portal, the silhouette looked at him one last time. The face was more like the image of a blank canvas than a human being. Only the bitter, sorrowful eyes of imprisoned souls could be seen there. At that moment, Dwayne realized this lake was no ordinary natural landscape, but a place inhabited by angry and tormented spirits. Whoever stepped into this lake would have to face their fears or be swallowed by the spirits. As the boat came to a silent halt on the other side of the portal, Dwayne could not speak. He was trembling, but he felt that he had won. He had conquered both his fears and saved his soul. Yet a single thought kept running through his mind. Have the spirits here been resolved? Or are they waiting for someone to come here again? The first light of dawn had crept over the forest, and Dwayne could still feel the strain. Even as he moved away from the dark lake, there was no peace in his heart. A strange and mysterious voice stirred inside him, whispering in his ear, "We are watching you, always." As he made his way with shaky steps deeper into the forest, something caught his attention. Something was shining in the distance, an unusual and unnatural light. When he got closer to clarify its source, he saw that the light was coming from an old broken mirror. The mirror seemed to be a replica of the surface of the lake, and Dwayne's face reflected in it was nothing but fear. He held the mirror in his hand tightly, gazing out at the lake. Suddenly, the same silhouette he had seen before on the surface of the water reappeared, but now with greater power, with more terrifying artistry. It was not just a ghost. This being embodied all the anger and deep suffering of the lake. Dwayne recoiled in fear, but in an invisible voice, the ghost began to speak to him. "You are alive, but this game will not end here. You know the language of the ghosts, and they have known you for a long time." The cold words made his soul tremble. The blood in his veins seemed to freeze. He stepped back, but this terrible creature's feet were off the ground, floating in the air. For a moment, horror overwhelmed him. Dwayne already knew that he would not be able to escape the situation by simply running away. This time, he had to fight with his mind and heart. He retreated desperately into the depths of the forest and found a cave. As he entered, time seemed to reverse its course. Everything seemed strangely like the bottom of a lake. Water droplets fell along the walls of the cave, and each drop sounded more like the sound of breathing. Standing in the middle of the cave, Dwayne put aside his fear and spoke. "If you want to test my soul, you will not do it by passing through here. I will accept my fear and overcome it." Suddenly, dark beams of light shot out from the walls and aimed at him. Dwayne frantically reached out and fought them, but these arms were not material. They were purely spiritual energy. Every touch shook him like a cold electric current, a force from the depths telling him to fight not with his muscles, but with his heart. Dwayne took a step back and then calmed himself down. He chose to make peace with the fear in his heart. Then, drawing strength from within, he said, "You don't scare me anymore. I know my fear and I'm friends with it. I won't let you be intimidated by it." After these words, the spirit retreated for a moment. Dwayne felt a new strength in his whole body. The darkness of the cave and the lake, as if under the influence of these words, rippled away. But from far away, from the depths of the cave, a faint echo rose. "You have won, but we are here. We are always here." Dwayne slowly emerged from the cave. The first rays of dawn illuminated the surface of the lake like a brilliant flash. The water had become a calm mirror, holding an eternal mystery. He knew this victory was fleeting. The spirits were still here, quieter, more secretive, and waiting. Yet he felt himself entering a new phase. He took every step carefully as he made his way towards the city. He listened to every shadow around him, ready to follow even the slightest movement. But now he had a difference. Fear no longer controlled him, but rather it controlled his fear. Life had taught him the most important lesson. Facing fear instead of weakening you makes you stronger by fighting it. When he got home, he hugged his family tightly. Every moment, every breath he shared with them reminded him of how precious life truly was. As the sun set, Dwayne stood at the window and looked out at the lake. The water still shimmered with mystery, but now he was a different person, one who had accepted his fears and gained power over them. This world may be dangerous and scary, but I will not be a prisoner of my fear, he thought. Everyone must face their own fears, but I am free now. The lake still shimmered in the stillness of the night. Dwayne had risen to a new level, no longer just a hero, but a man who had overcome his fears and understood the deeper truths of life.